Good evening, everyone. It is now 7 p.m., and I'd like to call to order this regular board meeting of the Urbana Park District Board of Commissioners for the month of March. First item is remote attendance, but since all 5 commissioners are here in person, there is nothing needed there. Second would be to either accept or amend the agenda that was published for this evening.
I move to accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or questions on the point? Hearing none, let's do a roll call, starting with Cedric.
Aye.
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 Okay, so we have our agenda for the evening. Takes us now to Roman numeral 3, public comment. And there appear to be members of the public here. Okay. Just as a reminder for those wishing to address the board that we do ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. The top card here is Ellen D. Baxter, 117 Dodson Drive South. Not sure I know where that is, but do you?
Yeah. Oh.
Yep, please.
I'm new at this.
No worries.
Hi, everyone. I actually live in the Scottswood subdivision. That's where my address is. And I have the good fortune of having the Weaver Woods come right up to my backyard. And it's very tranquil and peaceful. It's a lovely, reminds me of the setting of when I grew up. I grew up on lake property, so I hear bullfrogs at night, and there's a woodpecker. I think I've heard an owl there. And it's nice to have that in the middle of a city, to have that. And I also understand that there's a need to provide more athletic fields. I've also been a coach. I've been a swim coach and a tennis coach, and I understand how important it is to have those recreational activities for kids. But I'm just thinking maybe we could come up with something where the kids could still enjoy nature, but maybe have the athletic field somewhere where the environment doesn't have to be disturbed. And another point is, I understand that the pond back there helps keep my neighborhood from flooding. And I'm a homeowner, and the last thing I want to do is have flooding. I've lived in other homes that have been flooded during rainstorms, and it's not something you want to have happen again. And as a teacher, I think that the environmental studies are invaluable to our students. It's great growing up, having the values of conserving our environment and learning about just respecting nature and being able to live with them. And the kids at Dr. Williams School are very fortunate they can just walk there. But we do have school buses available to do field trips there. So I'm just hoping that maybe we can come up with something that works for everyone, that we get athletic fields, but yet children can still enjoy that natural atmosphere and learn to take care of nature.
Awesome.
Does anybody have any questions? All righty. Thank you for letting me speak to you
Thank
all
you.
today.
Thank you for coming out this evening. And next up is George Carterbeck,
Hello.
307 East Country Club Road in Urbana.
Good. Okay, so tried to write something up, see if I could get a few more words into the 3 minutes, but we'll see, and if not, I'll email it to you and maybe even edit a little more. Over these months since we learned of the Urbana Park District's leadership plans to take out significant rare natural areas to nearly half of Weaver Park's long reestablished prairie alongside wetland and old growth forest, to replace these with sports fields, We have grown increasingly aware of this leadership being untrustworthy toward the public that they are charged to serve beyond the other species long belonging to UPD, which UPD are charged as well, and towards those who, while underserved, can benefit by having optimum biodiversity here to naturally and holistically enjoy and learn from in science to arts, supporting their growth in this awareness to aid their access to related careers in long-needed ecocultural healing to wellness, choosing instead apparent loyalty to those part of this inner circle, and it appears inclined to do what may be the most convenient for a long circle of associates over what is the most sound. The inclination to disregard what this place offers as rare prairie to wetland to old-growth remnant forest ecologically is foundational to all wellness, dependent on ecological wellness and richness and space free of incompatible toxins and disturbance, this then being at a rail trail gateway for identity of place as a catalyst for identity of place, identity too long needing healed ecoculturally to ecologically among a greatly concerned public, we have done our part to inform this disregard to reason why and how we can do far better. We have shown how the public does care deeply and soundly by repeatedly showing up to comment at these meetings, by commenting together online and co-informing each other and gathering signatures of a public who do care to not lose this natural area, now in petition to over 1,400. As we pull together ways to address this rail trail gateway to identity of place, stated to now be about wellness, we need to properly address how we are a people of place, long disturbed of ecocultural wellness, seek now to turn this around as well as we may be able to in this time, with the awareness we may access in this time. We must see clearly and digest and account clearly our disregard, assessing in this how we have allowed human greed to lead moving long ecologically harmonized indigenous elders and hosts in these continents to losses of 99% first in disease untended, then in genocidal land theft and trees at gunpoint, then removing these tall grass prairie regions of ecological wellness to 99.99%, and further losses to wellness among like gross exploitation for imperial privilege and power over others, to rename this the Midwest breadbasket, to be forcibly tended by those stolen from long rootedness and their homelands and enslaved and kept in imperially tiered oppression since. If we indeed seek wellness and to represent this as our inclination, we need to together also see that those who seek asylum and immigrate here from further south especially are often more rooted and indigenous to these lands. While we have labeled them by imperially imposed languages, these hold far more birthright to these places than European Americans who have staked claims here as they like, to do as they like, and to hold status over these typically more rightfully belonging.
Your time is up, George.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And is there anyone else who would like to address the board this evening? Seeing no indication of that, then let's move on to UPD new staff introductions.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us here this evening. Here to introduce our intern in the Outreach and Wellness Division, Zarina Waldo.
Hello, how are you?
Hi.
Hi, everyone. Do I speak into this or no?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It does
All right.
help those of us who.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions for me, or should I just introduce myself?
Yeah, if you just introduce yourself, talk a little bit about what you've been working on.
Okay.
Not great detail, just
Okay. So I'm from the Chicago suburbs. I'm from Riverside, Illinois, and I go to the U of I currently. I'm a senior, and I'm majoring in recreation, sport, and tourism. I'm concentrating in recreation, sport, and tourism. And I am the outreach and wellness intern for the spring semester. And there's been many experiences I've been able to enjoy. I've enjoyed that I've been able to get lots of hands-on experience with kids, such as toddler art days, school out days, and being a spring break camp leader. I also enjoyed going out with Fresh Crew and meeting with teens and cutting down invasive species. I thought that was a very interesting way to get involved. I've also enjoyed working the Read Across America event because it's making kids read more, and we were able to impact the community and be able to interact with kids. And I've also been able to work with athletics, doing things such as organizing equipment, entering rentals, and selling jerseys, which is overall like a good experience. And I've also enjoyed working with other people from the community, such as working for the Schmore Social and meeting people from the community. And I've also done other implementations, such as for Urbana and working on the newsletter and other social media.
Wow.
And
in
how
only
long
half
have
a
you been here
semester?
now?
Like 2 months.
Yeah.
And when do you breathe?
Camille's got to give her a break occasionally.
Come on.
And
Impressive.
that's not everything I've done. That's just the ones like I was wanting to mention. So
Thank you.
She's doing a fantastic job. So
Awesome.
thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks
thank
for
you,
coming out
everyone.
today.
Bye bye.
Yeah, take care.
Okay, we have, I don't see Beth Chato
Beth
here.
is not here. I called her to remind her and not sure. I talked to her last night at the CCAS board meeting and she was planning on coming, so hopefully everything is okay.
Okay,
with
well,
her.
we didn't in fact
Change
move
the
it up
agenda.
here anyway.
Yeah,
so-
that's true.
Okay, so, that takes us to Roman numeral 4, the Urbana Park District Advisory Committee, otherwise known as UPDAC report. And we do have a written set of minutes from that. Is there any report beyond this written one?
I left early.
No, I think that we've kind of already talked about, I think we talked about kind of what they were talking about at the study session, so.
It was a great presentation about Kickapoo Rail Trail.
That's true.
Yeah. It was fantastic.
Actually, yeah, it was really good. It was like very
Yeah.
it felt like very off the cuff, even though it was like a planned presentation. It was a good presentation.
Impassioned. It was nice, yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none, then let's move on to our consent agenda. And for those who, we may be watching at home, I guess we got no more in the audience, but under our rules of the consent agenda, these are a set of items which we believe to be non-controversial and which we deal with in an omnibus fashion. However, it is the purview of any single commissioner to remove any or all of these items from the consent agenda for separate discussion and action. So on the consent agenda proposed is approval of minutes from the February 6th study session, the February 13 regular board meeting, the receipt of the 3 departmental monthly reports, namely administration, planning and operations, and recreation, action to accept the philanthropy report and gifts listed with gratitude, approval of the monthly paid accounts payable, and action on ordinance 2024-01 authorizing the sale or disposal of personal property of the district. Is there any of these items that any commissioner wants to have removed? Okay, see no indication of that. Do we have someone willing to make a motion that we approve these?
I move to approve all of the action items on the consent agenda and accept all the information items listed on the consent agenda in an omnibus manner.
I second.
That's moved and seconded, and under the consent agenda rules at this point, there's to be no further discussion. So let's do a roll call vote, starting with Roger this time.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
and that carries unanimously. And takes us on to the first of the reports, financial reports.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to jump right into revenues and expenditures. The revenue expenditures report is a viewing of receipts and expenditures for the prior 12 months. It also shows the budgets for the current period and the preliminary unaudited results. This is the 10th month, ending February 29th. Sum 1 is all funds without capital improvements fund. Revenues $13,782,018. This is an increase of $168,000 over previous month, January. Total expenditures, $11,732,148. This is an increase of $655,000 over last month, January. This puts us at a surplus after 10 months, more revenues than expenditures, and that is a positive $2,049,869. Page 2 is Fund 2. This is Capital Improvements Fund Steve Lane. Total revenues here, $6,599,967. This was an increase of about $363,000 over last month, which largely is to the reimbursement from DCEO of $351,000. Total expenditures, $7,152,547. $523,000 of that is directly related to construction costs for health and wellness. Expenditures here are exceeding revenues, putting us in a deficit of $552,580. Page 3 is Sum 3. This is all funds district-wide. Noting at the very bottom that ending fund balance, all funds, $15,633,318. The remaining reports are the individual funds, summary reports for general rec and museum, and the last page is the report. Questions on expenditures? Moving on to the treasurer's report. This is the amount of cash that the district has on a single day, February 2024. All 25 of our funds are listed down the left. Everything is invested is across the top. Bottom right, total investments on this date, $17,048,202.25. Page 2, top section lists the amounts that we have in interest-bearing accounts. Of that $17,048,000 listed on page 1, $15,120,408 is out in investments at varying rates. The bottom part of page 2 is the interfund loans, and we are at that time of year where the rec fund is helping us out with UIAC until July when we receive reimbursements from the school district. So you will see that rec has a direct interfund loan with the indoor pool of $50,000. And then page 3, this is the last section of this treasurer's report, and this lists the disbursements during the month of February. Vendor payments match the accounts payable report in the consent agenda, and total disbursements of funds, which do include all payroll and vendors, is $1,241,697.66. And here in the general fund, just noting that the vendor payments are kind of up there, and I just wanted to make a note that we did receive a donation for $42,000 and some change. We received it as the Park District in our name, but it's gifted donation, and so we've sent that over to the foundation for management. So that of that $149,000 in the general fund, $42,000 of that is the donation that we moved over to the foundation. And then UIAC is also looking rather stellar in their vendor payments, $97,802. As everybody knows, we were down quite a bit at the indoor pool, and so some of those expenditures are included here. $22,000 for that pool pack. We put a deposit down on the slide tower. That was $40,000. We had 2 months of utilities. That was an additional $9,000. So that number is up there for a couple of reasons. So in capital, we're going to be hearing more about that here pretty soon. So presenting the treasurer's report for audit.
I move to accept the treasurer's report for audit.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the pallet? Hearing none, let's do a roll call, starting with Cedric this time.
Aye.
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 And that carries unanimously.
All right. On to some of the business and the capital improvement budgets, starting with 2019A. We did receive, as previously mentioned, DCEO reimbursement of $351,398. And under the expenditures, there was a construction number 10 to core for a total of $478,575. This was split between DCEO and ARPA funding. We had a bill to Farnsworth for design number 8, and that was $44,397. Again, this was spread between park and some of our bonds. And the small bill to Farnsworth for Weaver Planning number 10 for $1,065. 2024 budget, we did receive $1,600 for tributes and donations. No expenditures so far in February. 2023 only saw a $388 in expenditures for plaques under the tributes and donations heading. 2022, total bill to Upland Design number 3. The bill was $20,460. We split that 50-50 between the OSLAD grant and our cash flow or donations. And we did purchase a new truck, $59,268 out of this budget. 2021, one expenditure, actually this is a partial, $2,931 paid to Burns Clancy. This was third-party professional fees, essentially. The total bill was for $10,211. Part of it is in this budget, part of it is in the next one. The balance is in
And that was for their work with the drainage district that we,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
I'm waiting for that.
In 2020, the remainder of the Burns Clancy bill was there, so $7,281, and then Hatch was the law services.
So it's about $12,000 total. Close to 13.
Yep. And in 2019, we had a couple of small expenditures here at the bottom. $875 was paid to GHR. This is in relation to the Crystal Lake Park lighting project. And $4,560 to ERA, Engineering Resource Associates, I think is their acronym. This was for design number 1 in regards to DC Ridge. That was all that I have for February for capital budgets, and Andy, you're gonna build on it.
Yep, I'll pull up my pictures and start with health and wellness as usual. We have some fairly recent aerials that were, I think, done about a week and a half ago, so I wanted to make sure I share that. So this is looking towards the northwest. The main entrance is right here. Parking lot would be in this area. Here's the baseball field and Brookins. So you can see, I think the last time we were talking about the update, they were trying to enclose the east wing. They have all of the metal paneling on the exterior of that east wing at this point, and now they're moving in towards the roof panels. And then a couple other views. This is the back of the building, so looking at Preston Williams School here. There's a kind of drive that comes up this way, garbage enclosure, and then the overhead door that would get access to the gym if we have any large equipment deliveries, that kind of stuff. And then another view here. This is looking towards the south, Washington streets here. This is basically the hallway in between the fitness area and the office areas and the gym. And this is an egress stairway and exit here. Community rooms located right here on the first floor. And then you can kind of see, if I outline a little bit, this is where the fitness equipment would be. So we'll have strength or cardio equipment in this area, a little passageway, another room up here that would be for more of that strength equipment. And then we have a storage area, and then over here is the group fitness. Just thought it was good to get a couple different angles. Interior masonry, primarily in the gym area, is ongoing. They have, I think, 2.5 of the walls done at this point. And then this is a look underneath the track on the west wall. So that whole area underneath the track to the wall to the west, the wall that goes towards Brookins, is fully enclosed. So there's a mechanical space, there's an electrical room, which is this room right here, there's a small IT room, and then everything else all along the wall is all for storage. So hopefully that'll be sufficient for our use for a lot of the gym equipment. We do obviously have a lot of different equipment for recreation, but we are planning for and do have quite a bit. So this is kind of just a cool look of what it looks like at this point underneath the track. And then speaking of the track, they are hoping to pour, and may have started today, the concrete all along the track. So it's a couple angles, just what it looks like as of last week. So that's pretty much it with health and wellness. They're still doing some electrical rough-ins and conduit work. And like I said, they're working on enclosing the roofing panels and insulation on the east wing at this point. Gym equipment's expected to arrive in May, and maybe a little bit earlier, maybe early April. And that I'm referring to is the basketball hoops, wall pads, items like that, the curtain as well. So this is going towards, I think the last time we met, we had a quick update on the Busey Woods Bridge by the Nature Center, and we had met with ERA, and basically they are working on a plan moving forward with 4 different options to restore the existing structure, replace portions of the existing structure, replace the entire structure in its current location, or replace the structure in a new location. I think at the time we were at the last board meeting, we were going to review some of those options with the drainage district before ERA put much more time into either any one of those options individually. Derek had some discussions with them, and they are good for us to proceed with all 4 of these options. And ERA is aware of that and moving ahead with their preliminary engineering at this point. This has been my usual Prairie Play replacement update slide. We'll have a few more added this time. So since our last meeting, which seems like it's been a while now at this point, we had our farewell event on February 17th. We had the paver return dates, March 1st and 2nd. Derek can attest it went quite a bit more smooth than we had anticipated. It went really well, and we appreciate all the volunteers. We had demo slated for March of 24, and then construction starting in April, and opening in August, September of 24 at this point is what our plan is. So I'll probably quit using this slide and start moving into slides of actual activity happening at the site. So this is the demolition that took place. They started in the first week of March. So I ran out there and tried to grab a few pictures as well and talk to the crew. Again, this demolition service is a donated service from Mid-Illinois Concrete, who ultimately did end up winning and was awarded by you all the installation contract as well. So they have the site all fenced in and secured, and they started demo first week of March. I did take one video as well. Didn't come out that well. But I would note they did report when I was talking to them there that some of the timbers were just crumbling as they were touching with their backhoe. So there was definitely some signs of decay in the wood. So it's a 30-year-old structure, so not a big shock. And we had ERA take a look at it years ago, so it wasn't a huge surprise either. But this is kind of their first go through the site. This is after all the play material was taken away and they were coming back to remove concrete back to their storage area for future recycling. And then this was another day or two later where it's cleared out and ready for construction activities to begin. And some of that some early construction activities, now that it's the same crew, they're already there. They've started to do some of the demo work associated with the concrete removals at this point. And then we'll have a pre-construction meeting here soon, and then we'll start to see a lot more action, and I'll bring those pictures to the board next month.
I was astounded at how fast that came down.
So I think they told us it would take at least a week,
Yeah.
but it took them
Oh, it
like
didn't take nearly that long.
in 2 days. It was
Yes,
basically
it was 2 days, it was gone.
We slowed them down by having to look for the time capsule, which they weren't able to find.
Yeah.
Oh,
They had a guy out there with a shovel, like, you know, they
100-year time saving.
had some idea of where we thought it was, where we heard, but not to be found. Yeah, and the paper retrieval really, it couldn't have gone any smoother. You know, we were kind of anticipating that we'd be having trouble keeping up with everybody rolling in. We estimated over 300 of these claimed. We had 270 that were claimed beforehand. A lot of people had just showed up, so worked very well. The volunteer students were fantastic. We only had one reported injury, and she called back and told me that she's fine. So I was concerned about that quite a bit. I mean, these were 80 pounds apiece. So
yeah. Okay,
that's all I had. Unless there's any questions.
you. Yes.
Sorry about that.
And that takes us then to the executive director's report, Tim.
Sure. Just a couple updates. Just wanted to recognize Janet and the Phillips Recreation staff and our volunteers that put the Best in Show together at Lincoln Square. It's one of the annual favorites of the mall and folks coming out for that big show. I think Janet mentioned she'd love to try to get more young youth entries, so she's going to focus on that for this next year. But terrific job. Just thank everybody for the help to pull together such a high-quality exhibit. Also want to thank Matt Lewis, the rec staff, Phillips folks, VIP greeters, and volunteers that helped with the Read Across America event at Lincoln Square. Again, it's another huge event. It's interesting to me how people identify with our different events, but for many in the community, that's one of the premier events that we offer. I know Urbana Rotary is very involved. Folks donate, they want to help out and volunteer. So very, very pleased with the staff and how that goes. Also, just want to follow up, as Derek mentioned, the Helping Hand Stones cleanup went wonderful. Thank both of the fraternities that came out and helped. The staff and the public was just really wonderful to work with. So I think we made some new friends through that event. Just wanted to update the board to let you know that both Senator Durbin and Duckworth, our federal legislators, have new portal systems to make requests. So Senator Durbin's date is coming up, and we're going to try to see if we can meet that deadline and make a request. I think we're focused on the Phase 2 amenities at Health and Wellness. Thought those would be good areas to ask for additional help. Wanted to mention I attended the Clark Lindsay Village open house they had for their new expanded facility. It's wonderful. Got to visit with everybody there. Obviously, Meadowbrook Park is a huge opportunity for everybody that lives there. So we want to continue to work with Clark Lindsay and making both their site and ours great, and working for everyone's behalf. Just want to mention the Arbor Day 2024 event has been scheduled for Friday, April 26th. Be working with the Tiger Academy, that's the alternative Urbana school, through the middle school, high school. I think we're going to have both groups there. So we're excited and looking at some tree work and opportunities at Ambucks Park. So if you're free and have that on your calendar, we'd love to have you come out. Just wanted to mention that the UPD staff trainings, the first aid, CPR, and AED trainings have started to take place. First group is completed that. We have 3 different groups, so we'll be finishing that up. Appreciate that from HR and Alex and staff that helped organize that. This year for the Sooner Neighborhood Association, the Urbana groups are invited to come and make presentations, and after last year's presentation, I had recommended to the organizers that I thought it might be a better idea to change the format of how we do that event. Have more of a tabling and an open house format where people come up and get more information, more in-depth, more personalized information than sort of 5-minute canned speeches with little opportunity to interact. So I think their organizers are excited about that and met with the city, and I think they're going to participate along with the school district. So look forward to that and trying some new things and meeting new people. We have a lot to share. Last, I just want to report the CU Special Rec group is celebrating the performance of Cinderella April 6th. That's, I think, a Saturday at 2 p.m. at the CUSR Center. So if you would like to come, please come on out. There's sort of an adapted, newer version of the classic Cinderella. So stay tuned for that, and I can answer any questions if you have them.
Okay. If there are no questions, then let's move on to the president's report. In terms of upcoming meetings, March 26th is UPDAC meeting. April 2nd, study session. Primary topic will be the Delcomen Solar Project. I think that's...
It's still Coleman Park. It should be the solar
yes,
project.
it's...
I mean, little omission. Don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. Then April 9, regular board meeting. Authorize wage, salary, and merit actions for the 24-25 budget, and accept preliminary budget for that same fiscal year, and also CUSR to highlight the fiscal year 24-25. Now, as part of that meeting, we're going to need to hold an executive session. We have traditionally held the executive session for that purpose, the wage and salary, before the meeting, but there are portions of this, and they're actually reasonably important, is that the overall average wage increase, or whatever plan we use, must be discussed and enacted in public. That only things that pertain to specific employees are legit for dealing with in the executive session. We've traditionally done the executive session before the meeting. I think, recommend that we do it after the meeting when we've already addressed the general thing, and then the executive session afterwards to talk about specific bonuses or merit increases and things that apply to particular employees. And I would suggest we continue doing a 7 o'clock start to our meetings, but I'm open to,
It's fine.
Yeah, that works for me.
that works best? Okay,
That's good.
all right. Sounds good to me, and that's all I have basically to report there. Finance study group. We did in fact meet on February 23rd. I was a little surprised. Part of the discussion there was about the health and wellness facility, the architects seeking additional fees since the project came in at a higher price than was originally quoted. So we are going to have some challenges there. And I don't know where things stand at this point. It was a little unclear then, but do not be shocked when that comes forward.
I think we'll plan to discuss it at our next meeting, which is Friday morning.
Well, but that's just the finance study group.
Correct.
I mean, I want the whole board to be aware
Sure.
that this is coming down the pike. We did also talk about the dog park fee changes, which are
Deal.
in today's meeting.
Yeah.
And we did talk some about the wage proposals that will be coming forward, but now are going to come out to the board not tonight, but rather a month off. So I believe that pretty well covers it.
Yeah,
doesn't
I
it?
think that's the major stuff, yeah.
And then anything from the policy study group? Yeah. And Parks Foundation rep, Roger?
Was not well, and I missed that meeting.
Okay, so, and again, I think the UPDAC Planning Study Group has not met since
No.
last report. Okay. Then we're ready to move on to old business, but the only old business is whatever was removed from the consent agenda, so that's nothing. Then on to new business. Beth Chato, action, the 2023 Audubon Breeding Birds Report. Are you?
I'm sorry I was late. I thought I knew where I was going, but I was not.
Oh.
I've been driving around a bit.
Oh.
Sorry.
I haven't been here for a while, so.
Yeah, it's been a year probably.
Right.
Got it.
So I might tell you that the Audubon bird walks have started again for the fall. I tried to look up and see what they saw on Sunday, but the Cornell
Yeah.
bird thing is down at the minute, so I wasn't able to. I don't know, was Roger there, or?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, we saw, what did we see? I don't have my thing with what we saw. I know we saw a rusty blackbird, which was nice. Not one I've seen in a while, so that was
Oh,
good.
how many people were there?
There were about 15 to
Yeah.
20, which considering how cold it was,
Yeah.
was really good.
And our last spring ones, we were very successful. We had 30 people, sometimes 15.
Yeah. We had.
We've
in
been
the-
very
the first-
popular.
The first one this spring, we had 35.
Yeah,
So a lot of people
a
responding
lot
to
of
that.
people to. So you must go a little slower. Maybe I'm debating whether I could keep up with the guys or not. That many
Sometimes-
people, you must be going slow.
Sometimes they go slow, sometimes they're gone.
Any rate, what I brought you this evening was the report for the breeding birds from last year, and Roger, of course, has reported the ones on the Meadowbrook, and so, but I looked at Crystal Lake, and I should have had a number here, but I don't have a number as to how many we'd seen at Crystal Lake, and then Meadowbrook, and then I have Bob Vaden was keeping an eye on Weaver, so those are the ones that we have. I thought it was interesting, we had a Eurasian collared dove nest in Busey, in Busey Woods or Crystal Lake?
Crystal Lake,
Crystal Lake, yeah,
yeah.
and,
They're still there. I
They're
think
s-
they'll
they're still
nest
there.
again. They'll nest again this year.
We put some exclosures up.
I heard that. That was a topic for discussion on the bird
They're,
walk.
they're still there.
Yeah, I know they're still there. They're hanging out.
and so altogether, in the whole bunch of parks, we've seen 94 different species in the Urbana Park districts this last year. And I wished I thought I had a number for each park, but I don't. But I can give you the list, and you can look through it and see. So we appreciated the park district, and we enjoy all the birds and the fact that you take care of them. And so I think the goose has been a problem, and I notice you've got a lot of fencing around the edges of the lake. Does that affect the other species, or?
Seems like we have more ducks and, great blue heron and things like that these days than we used to, so.
Great, great,
Not sure what else might be affected, but,
yeah,
yeah, the geese are certainly back for nesting season.
Yeah.
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 and you plan on controlling them again?
Yeah, we oil the
As
eggs.
usual, yeah.
Dog hazing.
That's not a job I would like to have to oil the eggs. And
Yeah.
I don't think they enjoy seeing you there. So I'm looking to see, we had a hooded merganser in Busey, which was last year, and that was kind of an exciting thing. And some immature kingfishers. They're nesting somewhere along the river, I suspect. Meadowbrook had, I think, the most sightings because of Roger. He was keeping track of them all.
I'm there a lot.
Let's see, what was, oh, the woodcock walk is coming up, I think.
tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night?
Yeah. There are at least 10, probably more, displaying males.
Great. And I presume they stay around. I don't think anybody's ever found we've just got records of them courting, but I don't think
I don't
anybody's ever
think
found
they-
a nest early
I
on.
don't think they nest there.
You don't think they nest,
No,
they're
I
just
don't.
on their way through, yeah.
Because several of us go in the places where they would be, and we've never disturbed one
Yeah.
after the courting season's over.
And let's see, they also had tree swallows on nest. Looking to see if there's anything exciting from Weaver Park, Canada geese, you know. Cooper's, well, they had quite a few hawks. Cooper's hawk and the kestrel. And a Sora rail was out there during the season. Wilson snipe, so it's kind of, something kind of interesting. And morning doves. Let's see what else was here. Sort of the usual things, but it's really, we appreciate the fact the Park District keeps going and we can go through and notice them. So 200, I think I mentioned 203 species were seen in all, if you added all the parks together, which is a pretty good number.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It is.
That's what I have, if you have any questions. But you looking forward to the spring and spring bird counts will be coming up, and we'll keep an eye on the Park District.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming out, Beth.
Yeah, thanks,
It's
Beth.
always great to see you.
Yeah, I was surprised when I got the call because I hadn't realized that I was really up for this every year.
We'll call you next year, for sure.
Next year I'll be more prepared.
It's always wonderful.
So if somebody would like this
Where is it?
report, I can,
Meadowbrook
I'll
Park,
turn it over to you.
6:45. Meet at the
Here you
Meadowbrook
go.
Interpretive Center, the old bar.
What time?
6:45
Okay.
at the Meadowbrook Interpretive Center,
Gotcha.
which will be cold. It always is.
I guess we're changing in the fall to 8 o'clock.
That's right.
Yeah.
At the request of many of our members
Aha.
who think 7:30 is too early, and I think it's an hour too late, but it's just me.
Well, I used to go on the walks and then I'd go to church by 9 o'clock.
Well,
and
that's
so
true.
Anybody
Yeah,
who
that's
does
gonna
that is
squeeze
gonna
you
be
in
in
there,
trouble.
yeah. Oh, well.
Oh, well.
Well, thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on then to item B, action to approve resolution 2024-01 for a grant application.
Planning it. Is this one?
So we're proposing an application for Southbridge Park Trail. This is the loop trail that goes around Southbridge Park. It's a rather big trail for what's, kind of a neighborhood park, but it's long overdue. We've repaired it a number of times since it was installed in 1990, prior to our actually acquiring the park in 91. In preparation for the grant, we've been doing some community input and met with UPDAC to get some of their ideas. And they're excited about things like hopscotch, stenciled sidewalk games, interpretation and accessible seating. There's some other things that they expressed interest in as well, but we checked with the grant administrator that they wouldn't qualify because they really just focused on trail things. So we think this is our application, and we've got a little bit more input we're wrapping up right now, but we're looking at the total project, about $367,000. If we're successful, 80% of it would be covered by the grant. So we're hopeful. We haven't been successful with RTP in the past, but they're changing how they think about internal loop trails now, and they've funded a few RTP projects since we haven't been successful. So we'd recommend applying for it and then passing the resolution.
At the study session, I think we saw options.
Yes.
Part of those were fully paved and not fully
Right,
paved.
right.
What is this supporting?
For the fully paved, it's
Okay.
been by far the most popular.
Got it.
How long of a trail is that?
It's 0.65 miles.
Okay.
so 2/3 a mile.
Okay.
Did it have the cut
The
across?
connector piece, we've looked at that more closely, and we're gonna bid that as an alternate, but we think that that may be a very difficult thing to include, just because of the terrain there.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll still pursue it as an alternate.
Cool.
Didn't want to commit to it in the grant, though.
Right. I move that the Urbana Park District Board of Commissioners approve Resolution 2024-01 for the IDNR grant application for the South Ridge Park Loop Trail rehabilitation.
I second.
That's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or questions on the point? Hearing none, let's do a roll call, starting with Roger.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
and that carries unanimously. Next item is dog park rates and fees.
I think we discussed that at the last study session to give you a little background on that. Obviously, staff's followed up and information. Did you want to give us any updates?
Yeah, the memo kind of outlines the adjustments that will be made. The one thing we didn't talk much about was the actual date to change the fees. CPD is changing theirs effective March 6th because it coincides with their new, well, did change March 6th, to coincide with their new recreation software. We are recommending that we change ours when the new program guide hits mailboxes. So that those adjustments will be hitting mailboxes before you know it. So other than that, we recommend that because we have a reciprocal agreement with the Champaign Park District, this is one area that we should move forward with to coincide with their fees.
I move that the Urbana Park District Board of Commissioners accept the recommendation to move forward with removal of the non-resident NR and initial key fob fees for the Urbana Park District Dog Park.
Second.
That's moved and seconded. Are there any further questions or comments? Hearing none, let's do the roll call, starting with Cedric this time.
Aye.
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 I would, however, request that we keep some data to see where the non-residents are coming from and how this plays out over time.
Right.
Moving on
I could
to,
probably get that pretty quickly. I can send that out in an
yeah,
email, I think.
but will it, does it change?
What it changes, but I can get you that information to who's outside of the Champaign-Urbana area.
Right. And I guess I also did have a question. If you're a Champaign member, you still have to get an Urbana fob to get in?
Yes,
So they aren't compatible. Yeah.
two fobs.
Next up is action to approve an intergovernmental agreement with the sanitary district.
Yeah, so another trail project. This one is further along. It's been designed and bid, and we wanted to piggyback with the sanitary district if we could. They don't have need for a multi-use path. They just want basically a sidewalk to their plant. So they're looking at a five-foot trail, 5 foot wide. We proposed an 8 foot, and we began thinking about how we might pay for this. And we've got $350,000 in DCO funds that are coming to us. 300 were already committed to the bridge project with them. And so we thought for that extra 50, we could probably buy 3 feet worth of trail.
Just one question about that, though. I thought that money was designated for Crystal Lake.
Not that money, no. This is for prior cost incurred. So the new DCO application we got that's the one we're going to put towards the bridge project.
Okay.
But this one is basically just they're rebating us the work we did before in the lake project. So
Okay.
use it where we want to, and but it seemed like a logical fit given that we're already doing a portion of it to that project. And the bids came in really well. I mean, well below $50,000. So think we had 5 different bidders, and we're excited that we got a trail project. So we'd recommend approving this IGA. It's reviewed by both our legal and theirs, and it's very much similar to the one we did for the bridge.
So I move the Urbana Park District Board of Commissioners approve the intergovernmental agreement with the Urbana and Champaign sanitary districts for a shared multi-use path in Ambucks Park.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? And I guess I have a comment. This is miserably drafted. It's just, I mean that section 3 is virtually unintelligible. But I think we all know what we're headed for, and we've got $20,000 skin in the game. So I'm not going to propose that we make them redraft it before we approve it. Probably best to keep moving ahead.
It's at least a run-on sentence.
It's actually a very confusing sentence.
I'm not sure, like, I wrote none of it, but.
Yeah.
No, I understand.
We tend to, we have to rely on the attorneys.
Yes,
certainly.
I understand. Well, yes.
And then when two attorneys review it together, we try to work together, so one doesn't, spend hours rewriting somebody.
I'm not going to beat that to
Right.
death, but it would be nice if we got the attorneys trained to write in plain English.
I
There
agree
is
with you.
absolutely no requirement that these things be drafted in this convoluted style. You can just say, we recognize the following things being this current state, and here's what we propose to do together. I mean, that's. But anyway,
There is time on this. I mean, we could take another go at it.
really, it's not at the level I guess that's something we need to bug Matt about, and he writes in a similar style. His are just more clear than this. So,
I appreciate the comment, and yeah, that is quite a sentence.
but our citizens ought to be able to read these things and understand them straightforwardly.
We'll continue to stress simplicity in
Yeah,
the documents as
precisely.
we review them.
Yeah. Because we'll still pay the lawyers to write them. Anyway,
We will. Even if they are bad writers.
anyway, were there any other comments or questions? I believe we have the motion on the table, and
I think we had a second.
Yes.
we did have a second.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Aye.
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 Okay, that carries unanimously,
Great.
and I think that will be a nice addition.
Definitely.
Approval for new equipment purchase, a rear-loading garbage truck.
We're with planning again.
At the last meeting, I know Derek took a little bit of time and kind of went into the issues we've had with our existing Isuzu gas rear-loading garbage truck. A lot of warranty repairs causing impacts to our staff and taking the vehicle out and far away for those repairs. And so our plan was to bid a new truck and then get an offer for a trade. And so we did take a bid out in late February. We wrote specifications for a Ford diesel chassis and a New Way 8-yard compactor, which is used at the U of I and had a lot of positive references. And I think we had the New Way on our garbage truck 2 trucks ago, and that was a good model for us. We had 3 plan holders, 2 submitted bids. We reviewed submissions, and the low bidder, which is R Now Inc., did not meet all the requirements for the bid. So they did not specify and include in their bid our New Way Diamondback compactor that we were looking for. What they were proposing was actually the compactor that we're having some of our issues with our existing truck. And so we've determined that to not be an approved equal. We also included in our bid specifications that the bidder need to be within 50-mile radius of Urbana, and that's to try to keep repairs close by. They are located in Wisconsin. We also were looking for delivery within 90 days, and within the bid submission, they had noted that the delivery would be identified as 150 to 180 days after they receive the chassis. So the chassis itself could take 6 months or so. So then they're saying another 150, 180 days after that. So that's obviously not within the time that we had specified as well. So for those reasons, we're recommending to reject the low bid on the basis of not meeting those specifications and not being advantageous to the interests of the Park District. And then we're recommending purchasing the new rear loading garbage truck from Rantoul Truck Center, who had provided and met all of our specifications in the bid documents. And just on a note on the budget, I think we touched on it last month as well. This wasn't part of our vehicle and equipment purchasing schedule. So what we've done is we've basically taken everything from 24, I think it goes through 2033, and we've moved everything back 1 year to free up the funds that we have currently set aside in 2024, which is more than enough to cover the cost of the new garbage truck, and including the trade that they offered as well.
I think this facility is a testament to why we can do that. Our trucks are lasting longer, so use one, and they're in good shape.
Well, I move that the Board of Commissioners reject the low bid from RNOW on the basis of not meeting bid specifications and is therefore not advantageous to the interests of the Urbana Park District. Staff recommend the Board of Commissioners award the purchase of a new rear-loading garbage truck and trade-in of the 2022 Isuzu garbage truck in the amount of $85,237.05 to the second low bidder, Rantoul Truck Center, LLC of Rantoul, Illinois.
Second.
That's moved and seconded. Any, any comments or questions? Hearing none, and let's do a roll call, starting with Cedric.
Aye.
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 Okay, we get a new garbage truck, and for the difference in price,
Yeah.
probably just one more failure of the existing one would cost you more than that anyway. And
Or one trip to Wisconsin when
well, yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's what I'm getting around to. Yeah, it's well,
Rantoul's much closer.
yeah. Action 2, increase contingency for Weaver Park and Prairie Park master planning services. This is the next item on the agenda.
Again,
So we're getting close to using the existing contingency that the board's authorized for this project. We've had some additional costs on things that we're going to be doing some additional outreach. We're going to work with the school district. Actually, hopefully it's going to be next week on Thursday to talk with school kids during the day, and then parent-teacher conferences at night. And then we also want to invite the neighborhood in for that evening session. Invite people from the surrounding neighborhoods to come and see some inspiration boards with different images of things that are being contemplated in their master planning effort. There's also likely to be at least one additional meeting with Farnsworth, engaging with our steering committee of the whole, and this fee would help to cover that as well. And we would still have some additional gas in the tank for another potential meeting if we needed it with Farnsworth, or there could be additional work that we need. This has obviously been a drawn-out process, and we recognize that Farnsworth has incurred some additional cost, and so we wanted to make sure we were able to get us through the project, and we anticipate this will do so. I know that you all received an email over the weekend about a concern about moving forward. We have talked with all 4 steering committees. 3 of the 4 were supportive of moving forward with this project at this time and re-engaging with Farnsworth. In the Natural Resource Group, there was someone who was concerned. I think a lot of the issues that were addressed we're already planning on attending to. One of them is to involve more people of color in the steering committees. We've been somewhat limited in that capacity, but that's why we want to work with our outreach groups. Porky's going to help us line up at least 2 different groups. We're also possibly looking at the Dream School to do more engagement there. And so we've learned that a barrier for a lot of folks is just getting there, and so we want to go to them and get their involvement. The other one that she was concerned about was, has everybody seen all the input to date? We covered the summary slides with everybody, but we didn't go into detail with each one. So I want to follow up with her and see what her concerns were and make sure we're addressing them adequately. But we certainly think this is going to be a good process and it'll wrap up well. So we would recommend approving some additional contingency and answer any questions you might have.
Well, and I only actually got that email today. I don't know why that didn't land in my mailbox, that Tim forwarded it to me, but having read it over carefully, I mean, it's essentially got nothing to do with this contingency. I mean, one way or another, we're proposing to adjust the planning, and that's going to cost some more consultant money. I mean, that's just the reality of it, and it's better to have, in my mind, actual renderings of some sort or another that people can see and say, oh, okay, well, that's where this is headed, or that's where that's headed, rather than simply talk about it.
Yeah, and I think the public comment this evening is a great, example of that. Of again, sort of wanting to protect the wetland, which I think we have been very protective of throughout. So I think it was great to hear those comments, but I think, to your point, illustrations help demonstrate that.
I mean, my recommendations, as Derek mentioned, complete these meetings and get back working on the master plan with Farnsworth to incorporate all the good ideas we've heard from the community, in this process. Until people can physically see the drawings and the changes, I think we'll continue to churn. So I'm very eager to get back to the drawing board and show some new ideas that, demonstrate we understand, we've listened, we're listening to all the groups, and we think we can still provide a very solid program at that park site.
Well, I would move that the Urbana Park District Board of Commissioners increase the contingency for master planning services with Farnsworth Group Incorporated by $10,000.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. Is there any further any further discussion or questions on the point? Seeing no sign of that, let's do a roll call, starting with Roger.
Aye.
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 And that carries unanimously. There was no new business removed from the consent agenda, so we are down to Roman numeral 9, comments from commissioners.
Just a couple of things that I wanted to mention. Derek, I don't know who was responsible for the playdate planning, but what a crowd. And it was really, really well done. And lots and lots of people there. So thanks to everybody who was involved in that.
We estimate about 500 people.
That's what I read.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was astounded because it was not a warm day, but
It's chilly.
it was.
The day before was
Better,
nice.
Yeah,
better
well,
than the
of
other.
course it was.
The rain date would have been, well,
Yeah, the rain date was negative degrees, so.
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah.
Good thing it didn't overload those rotting timbers.
Yes. Oh, geez, that would have been bad.
Oh.
Tim, I was pleased to see that the interpretive, the Wandell Sculpture Garden interpretive node is moving along, because that's such a sad sight.
Yeah.
Where I mean, it's not our fault,
Right,
but
right.
it's nice to see that that's moving forward. So that's all I had.
Great, we're excited too.
Again, that the pavement, the pavers, the play dates got people very excited about where we're going with the park. So, and I think the sign up genius, whoever came up with that idea to actually sign up for a time, that was perfect.
I should have mentioned when I was thanking people too, wanted to mention the work Kara Dudek did in the early part of our process, because she really set us, start tracking it, getting names, collecting, creating a process, and ultimately helped us get all that and keep it all together.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add if I missed any? Thanks on that.
It's a total team environment. So yeah,
Yeah.
Kara got it started.
Right.
Kelsey worked with Ken on the sign up genius. Keenan talked to so many people the week
I know.
beforehand and just kind of helped them through the process. Some people, he helped them find their paver through aerial photographs. He was just extraordinary. And then, Corky staff were the ones that really helped with the play date in the park. So
Right.
just a
And the day was so positive.
It was, yeah.
It was
really
just
was.
so
A
positive.
lot of good interactions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent job.
My sense was that the people who came to that came away with a much more,
Yeah.
well, maybe not much more, but a more positive
Right.
attitude. Some of the people I talked to who didn't go to that, I wish had.
Yeah,
Because
I
I
agree.
think that their opinions would be changed.
Right.
But then those people, those 500, will in turn talk to other people. And
Right.
So, yeah.
I predict we'll have a lot of attention when we open back up.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely have to do a play day.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
Okay, any other comments? Alrighty, then it's time for us to consider adjourning to executive session.
I move to adjourn to executive session to conduct an annual performance review of the executive director, Tim Bartlett.
That's moved and seconded. Any discussion on the point? Hearing none, let's roll call with Roger.
Aye.
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 And so we will be adjourning into executive session. Are we going
We
to,
could stay here because I think
Okay.
everyone else will probably be leaving, right?